Colleagues, we won't take too much of your time so that we are able then to move through the program much more quicker. Welcome again to this launch of the 2025 Built Environment Indaba. More things we'll start seeing in the media, in the different social media platforms with regards to the event. But we needed to do this so that we set the tone as we go towards the event itself. My name is Chief Carrington Tlale. I hold a lot of portfolios for me to mention. We'll just leave it as Chief Carrington Tlale so that we are all aligned. Let me just acknowledge a few people. You know, this Indaba, we have taken an approach of collaboration, and we would like to acknowledge Mr. Andile Zondi from SAFSEC, Gregory Mufukeng, I'm not sure, I haven't seen him. He's probably making noise outside. From CSCC, there's construction sector, Chapter Council. From DBSA, we've got Mr. Tempo Training. From CETA, Mr. Tabo Masumbuka, also maybe he's with Mr. Mufukeng. And also from Sandra, we've got a representative as well. And also we have got a representative from our members, stakeholders, all the people that we believe that from a Sandra, from a BPCPE and an Indaba and collaboration perspective are quite important to us. So without waste of any time, colleagues will hand over to the President of Black Business Council in the Built Environment, and Dr. Denny Masimini, to do the welcome, and at the same light as well, with efficiency, that he can introduce our keynote speaker as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Tlale. It is important that we all note that because you don't get voted to be the chief. It is by virtue of birth and being of the correct, relatives. Good morning, colleagues. Without any waste of time, I'm really pressured here because our keynote speaker will be joining us in just less than 5 minutes, which then really summarize my opening remarks. I'm not going to go into the introduction. The program director has done that. All what I need to say is that welcome for having graced this occasion, which is a build-up to our second built environment Indaba. For those who don't know, we had our inaugural Indaba in 2024, and it is our intention, and we are deliberate about that this is going to be an annual event. Though it is facilitated by BBCBE, I just need to correct that it is not a BBCBE event necessarily, but as we are also playing in the space of the built environment, we decided to create this platform for the industry captains, academics, governments, so that we can together and united deal with the challenges that are facing the built environment industry. And the understanding is that for all those who know is that we lead in transformation. This is not only related to transformation, but it is also related into how do we make sure that we find a solution to the challenges that we have in the country that are industry related. We talk about transformation, which is the key. 30 years into democracy, when you look at stats, we are not yet there, but the question is that, where are we failing? Because we do have a government that is pro-black. We do have officials that are black, and then we don't have any excuse. But the only excuse we have is that we don't have confidence in ourselves. We don't have confidence in our people. And that is what we need to address. And I think based on that, it is important that we come together and address many challenges that we are having. Year by year, we continue having challenges related to floods in KZN. And that tells us that the issue of, town planning, it is no longer something that is reserved, for the urban areas. It is a demonstration that it is a must, that it must also happen in the townships. It must also happen in our rural areas, so that we don't find ourselves with people building their houses in areas that are not safe, and it is important that we take this aspect of town planning no longer as a priority, and government. We need to partner with government, to make that happen. And from our side, as BBCBE and our collaborators, we do have built environment professionals, which at all times we can make them available, to assist government at the risk. We can talk about how do they get paid, afterwards, but it is important that we deal with that. And again, we realize that, out of the budget, our infrastructure budget, 80%, 70 to 80% goes towards material. And then up until we are also players in that space, we will not realize, the value chain, or will not be able to benefit from the value chain. And then we need our financiers, commercial banks, our DFIs, to come on board. And you know very well that in this country, if you walk out of here, you just walk into one of the banks and you want to finance a luxury car of 3 million, within 30 minutes, that deal will be approved. But ironically, if you want to buy a tipper truck at $500,000, there will be 101 things that are required. Whereas the luxury car, it is a liability. This one is an asset which is bringing in income. But maybe the bank need to share with us, from which planet are they coming from? Because really, it doesn't really make sense to me, unless it makes sense to you. So, as I've indicated, I won't be able to go much into what I wanted to say. I have to introduce our Deputy Minister of Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, who will be joining us online. He's not new to us. We know that he's the former Minister of Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Public Works has told us that they are going to turn South Africa into a construction site. So we still have to see those construction sites, and we still have to see the beneficiaries, and we still have to see the transformation agenda, because up until we have targets that out of $1 billion, we want to see 60%, going towards the designated groups, then we'll never realize the real transformation benefits. So, on that note, I would like to bring in our Deputy Minister, the Honorable Sihle Sigalala, who will be our keynote speaker. A round of applause as we usher in our Deputy Minister. I've now lost the program director. He needs to direct what happens from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President. Yeah, we connecting. I think we had some data issues. The fourth industrial revolution has caught up with us. But I think the most important thing, colleagues, is that the opportunity that we get to use technology is quite critical. And for us to be able to connect to the Deputy Minister while he's not here physically is quite important, especially being a line ministry that falls within our sector itself. So as the colleagues tries and sort out that connection, and also we are under time pressures from the Deputy Minister as well, hence he had requested that we allow him to speak at 10 past. I think to try and maybe while we're still waiting to sort out that connection, I think maybe I can give President a few seconds again, so that just to give the context, I know that he's connected to another device, he could probably be able to hear, but just for a few seconds, maybe 5 minutes press, no political stuff, press, industry stuff, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Program Director. I lost that opportunity before 1994 to join the political arena. I decided to go business. And, you know, in the next 5-10 years, it's not about to change. Colleagues, as I've indicated that we had our inaugural built environment in Indaba in 2024. And the objective was to bring everyone, you know, under one umbrella, you know, and get rid of the corridor politics or the corridor talks, because, you know, that promotes the silo mentalities. And with the silo mentalities, we've got very little to achieve. But unfortunately, I think the brief was missed. And then government happens to be the first culprit to have missed that brief. Where we expected that for the second built environment in Indaba, or for the second chapter of the built environment in Indaba, we'll have more people joining, to make sure that we address the challenges with strict timelines and champions. But instead, I think you might have observed that this year it looks like a season of conferences, and then 90% of them infrastructure related. We do accept that most of us have missed the brief. The objective was not that we have more silo conferences. The objective was that we collapse on whatever smaller conferences that we are having and join the bigger picture. And I'm just going to indicate that fortunately we are aligned with most of the industry players that we are collaborating with. We had a meeting with CESA, and I've seen the CEO is here. Where we have agreed, to find a way to have one platform. CESA, just before our Indaba, they're also having their conference. So you realize that we want to achieve the same. And then for us to achieve the same, we can join forces. But as BBCBE, we are going to lead the delegation and visit all state entities, all government departments, our private sectors, you know, who are going to knock at their door so that we can make a presentation so that this brief come 2026, it is not missed. Even if we set ourselves timelines, we may not be able to achieve it in 2026, but we need to work towards saying in 3 years' time, we need to be having one conference to deal with infrastructure related. I'm going to allow the minister, the deputy minister, to come in. Thank you very much.
No, thanks and greetings to all of you. I wish to take this opportunity to extend my greetings to all of you, but to also apologize that I will be leaving now because by 10 we were starting the sitting and I was granted permission for just few minutes. I wish to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Black Business Council in the built environment under the leadership of the President Masimane, and we regard the BCBE as one of our critical and important stakeholders in our journey to transform the property and the construction sectors. And the inaugural built environment industry in Indaba, we emerge with clear resolutions, timeframes and commitments to ensure that we get them again for a clear implementation. So the resolutions that we emerge with in the first Indaba should help us to emerge and that we go forward very, very clear in transforming the sector. As the department, we have presented the National Infrastructure Plan, which entails strategic integrated SIPs that focus in many sectors. Under the sixth administration, since 2020, 62 projects were gazetted and an addition of 7 gazetted in 2022. These projects are in various sectors such as green hydrogen as part of energy, water, transport and logistics, as well as social infrastructure. In line with the South Africa's economic recovery and reconstruction plan, we see the reconstruction sector as a pillar in growing the South African economy, giving it a high impact to the multiplier effect. As the department, we will be advertising a number of projects that invite the private sector participation in property and the construction sector. It includes the RO, the build, operate and transfer, and renovate, operate and transfer. We aim to ensure that all government buildings that are under the state are optimized for effective use. We are going also to ensure that we refocus our buildings to be in line with the climate change as we go through the just transition. So the issue of green building is going to be key as we go forward. We look forward to engaging with you we believe that we must, as we prepare for the summit, ensure that we engage robustly and build the capacity in the sector, whether you talk of professionals such as town planners, property values, estate agents, those responsible for auction, engineering, architect, landscape, plumbing, electricians, bricklayers. We must build the capacity of the construction sector. We want to take this opportunity to thank all of you as we go forward with transforming and growing this sector. And we want to emphasize that this sector must be transformed for all of us, blacks and whites, and in that we can inspire by the words of our former president, President Nelson Mandela, who said, as I quote, never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another, and suffer the indignity of being scum of the world. Let freedom reign. Let sun, the sun shall never spread on so glorious a human achievement. Close quote. We are inspired by the words of Madiba, and transformation must go together with growing this sector. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister Zigalala. I think as a continuation of what we had in the previous Indaba, it was expedient as well that we show that we are committed to ensuring that the sector itself grows and that the resolutions and the decisions and the discussions that took place last year, that there is continuation. Hence, last year in September, we had our breakfast to give update with regards to what has been done from the discussions themselves. And I think, as the Minister has said, government can't do it alone. They need the private sector, whether emerging or established. The private sector is required. The professionals are required. The manufacturers are required so that we can work together. Thank you again, Minister, and for the time. And luckily enough, we didn't have issues with being muted or you know, the normal issues. But I think for now, we actually have caught up with time. We have got some time, which would give us some opportunity as well to hear from key stakeholders in the sector itself on the sector itself and what we actually envisage and the discussions that needs to take place within the Indaba itself on the things that are pressing within the sector. And maybe I must impress on everyone that is going to be part of the panel. We know all the problems. So we don't want to hear the problems again because we are living in those problems. But rather a direction, a directive on what type of solutions we need to work on in the next month as we move towards the Indaba. And that those then can be finalized in agreements, in collaborations, at the Indaba itself. So that is one of the critical things that I would like to impress on the panel itself. In addition, I think the challenges that we have changed substantially. And we need to start looking at that change. What impact can we have as business itself in ensuring that we close up the gaps that exist? So I think the panel has got a twofold approach that is required. That is, we move towards the Indaba as a sector itself, and this is one of the things with this Indaba that we have impressed and tried to put forward, is around issues of collaboration. So in this Indaba, we have expressly invited key stakeholders within the business sector, the voices of the industry itself, SAFSEC, NBSA, and BBCBE, to be collaborators You know, we always disagree on some of the things, but in the majority of items that we have and issues, we agree on. And I think it is important that the Indaba enforces that there is a united sector that has got similar problems. Our approach might be different, but we have got similar challenges that if we resolve as a sector, we would be able then to move forward and address and be competent enough to be available when our government needs us to deliver on infrastructure. So I will ask the Deputy President of the Black Business Council to come and moderate this discussion panel so that, and then he will invite the colleagues that will, okay, Mrena Mufuke, you've already, oh, okay. You need to be invited first. Yeah, give leadership. So the Deputy President will come and invite the panel so that we can have this quick discussion. And like I said, let me impress again, no problems. We know them. There was traffic this morning. We know that is a problem. Solutions. Let's find a different model of transport so that we can avoid traffic. That's what we want to hear. So that is what we're looking for, and hopefully that is what you're going to hear, so that people have got an expectation when they come to the Indaba that we are going to find solutions and participate in the fulfillment of those solutions at DP.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my apologies. It looked like I jumped something. So it is actually industry body's address, or my apologies. Okay, and I did call the Deputy President properly. And I think he will also invite the other colleagues for the industry body addresses.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes when we leave home, you go to the event, you say you don't want to talk. And it's the more when people invite you to talk. So it becomes an opposite thing. So my name is Bafana Dube. I'm the deputy, what I do, or my work. I'm the Deputy President of the Black Business Council. I'm not the Deputy President. It's the work I do as the Deputy President of Black Business Council. So it is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to be part of this event today, the media launch of the Build the Environment in Indaba. And then, in fact, I was talking to the program director to say, there are so many events in this country. And I think, looking at my age, I've attended so many events, a lot of them. And then I want to appeal to the organizers of the Build the Environment in Indaba to say, maybe time has come to able to differentiate this event from the rest of our event. And I'll tell you why. It's because of, as human beings, we can't do something over and over again and never achieve the objective of that particular thing. But I do appreciate that sometimes in life, for us to be able to achieve certain things, they say there's no great person that's ever lived the earth, and that he didn't have some part of a bit of insanity in him in order to achieve things. And I think the Build the Environment in Indaba will be able to give us an opportunity to become a little bit insane so that we can go to another level of making sure that we achieve things. And then one of those things, Program Director, that I want us to look at it, and it's our contribution from BBCPE, because of this is the industry platform, is that maybe we need to change and don't call it an event, and call it a system. Because in a system, it means that you call people to collaborate, to to share knowledge and achieve a certain agenda. The agenda is not for us as industry, construction industry organization, just to meet and discuss things that everybody can read on a newspaper, we can listen to on radio, or we can watch it on TV. And I'm saying that because it's informed. You know, some of the things that in life you become so fortunate to be the deputy president of PPCB, then you tend to be invited to very critical events in this country. I never like events. I went to events many times in my life. And I remember now, just to give you, because I like to tell a story on something. You see, sometimes we become business people, and then we don't become human beings. I always prefer that before I'm a business person, I'm a human being. And the only time to be able to talk to a human being is that we must appeal to each other at that level. Then I happen to be invited by DBSA. This is a short, I'm just going to give you a short piece of my invitation being in this position. And then at some point here, they invited me to another event in Cape Town. I didn't want to go. So I said I've gone into many events in my life. I'm not interested to go to events. I'd rather spend time trying to influence things. And then we see the result of those things that are influencing in life rather than being at the forefront. Then when I go to this event, and then they said, one thing that DBSA has invited BBC to go to the event, they said there's people that want to introduce you to. And then I said, no, I'll go. If they're saying there's people that they want to introduce, then I will go to this event. Fast forward. We arrive in Cape Town, there's this event. Very busy. It was a very busy event. And they do events differently than us. There's some of the things that someone learned from that event. No question and answer. You move from one discussion to another, panel and moderator, and the person who summarized the discussion is done. You just you receive the information from the minister. But for 3 days, same thing, 3 days. But what was so special about that event? I thought BBCPE was something, we are somewhere in this country in terms of where we need to drive transformation. When I arrived, when we were listening to those discussions, it was very difficult. There was time whereby I couldn't able to have a sense of direction because of the information that was coming out of that event. But let me tell you that event, what is achieved. There will be no infrastructure development in any country if we don't have investment. That's a simple question. We can talk as much as we want. We can meet government ministers on a daily basis and have good discussion and have tea and biscuit and leave the meeting and impress each other to say, definitely we are going somewhere. But if there's no support for capital, nothing's going to happen. But I'm just saying, the BBC, this build environment in Indaba needs to change so that when we go to the build environment in Indaba, coming back out of the build environment in Indaba, it means that as we meet with our stakeholders today, the 30 days that is left for the event, things must happen. The 12 months after the event, things must happen. So that when we come back, then we can say truly this build environment in Indaba has added value to this organization, to the business people in this country, so that we look different. But looking different, it means that we need to put more effort into this. So, from our side as the BCPE, this is what we are bringing into this build environment in Indaba, is that as an organization, and then one thing, the last thing that we've achieved that event, that we didn't know that we were going to achieve that. It happens that that's 1 minute program director. There was this special day where we were given an opportunity to speak. All the session we didn't speak. One day. And it was in the evening. And then when we go to that event, and the chief client says, no, we are going to that session. It's around 7 o'clock. Your events finish at 5, and other events finish at 8 o'clock. That event finished at 8 o'clock. We go to the session. When we arrive in the session, then we are listening from the Brazilians. How do they work internally in Brazil in terms of mobilizing funding for infrastructure development? We listen to Brazilians. And then I arrived in that meeting, and then they said, okay, after discussion, after the presentation by the Brazilians, they said, no, we want to give you an opportunity to speak. Just 5 or 4 people to speak. I raised my hand. You know, after raising my hand, what happened? Chief Klalo walked out of the door, out of the room. I said, no, I know in my mind. I said, oh, it's running away because of, maybe he's afraid what I'm going to raise in this meeting. Then after he went outside, then they gave me the mic. It was pushing for BBCPE to make a mark. Pick up the mic, and then I said, from today, we are giving DBSA here as Teposho. We said, from today, as BBCPE, we ask DBSA to start establishing a forum that consists of all your national development banks in the country and the private sector in South Africa, so that they can be able to facilitate discussion between ourselves as an organization and the people who owns the capital, so that we can start influencing the capital of what needs to be done in the country. I said, that is non-negotiable. I even told DBSA, if the CEO and the executive were there, I said, you don't negotiate certain things in life. You don't negotiate. You just lead. You just tell people that from today we are leading, we're going to establish this. Simple. And the DBSA CEO stood up in that conference. He said, no, we hear you, BBCPE. From today, we want to give support to the establishment of national development banks and private sector in South Africa. Will facilitate it as DBSA, will become the secretariat of that forum, and then we'll invite you in March. The first meeting is going to sit in March. We'll invite you as BBCPE to tell us what is it that we need to achieve. That was the important moment for BBCPE's contribution to the conference, that is the international conference. And thank you very much, Mr. Tekwan. Thank you, Program Director.
Protocol says that I must say thank you, but you're not listening to me, DP. But thank you again. Thank you so much. I think the lessons that we are gaining within the sector itself is that there's even a higher need for collaboration. So it's important that we align as well as custodians of the sector in bringing solutions. And if we are not able to do that, no one else is going to. Next, then I'll call Mr. Andy Lezondi to just come and say a few words as well from SAFSEC. Thank you.
Good morning. Just like to start by acknowledging the leadership of the leadership of the Black Business Council in the built environment, BBCBE. Thank you for this invitation, colleagues, our colleagues in the media, colleagues from various government departments, industry colleagues. Greetings to all of you. And I'll be very brief, but just wish to thank Mbuya's and the team in the BBCBE for inviting us as SAFSEC to be part of the industry Indaba and of today's proceedings. It is, we often find ourselves as industry bodies almost competing for the space of being the voice of the industry. But the industry is so big and so vast and has so many layers within it that there is, sometimes we forget that there is space for all of us as industry bodies to exist and coexist and work together, which is the most important thing. And we wish to thank you, BBCBE, for bringing us together, encouraging us as industry bodies and industry to work together to deal with issues. Because we're dealing with issues now, when we start talking to each other, we realize that, in fact, our members all have the very same problems. I won't go into the problems, as the program director, but they all have the same problems, and they come to us in our various silos telling us about these issues. And we try to deal with them on our own, writing letters to departments and ministers and so on and so forth. But for the first time, we're actually coming together and we are dealing with these issues collectively. And if we continue to work like this as an industry, working together, dealing with the same problems, collaborating, being coordinated, and pooling our resources together, we will definitely find ways in which we can solve industry problems and improve the conditions within our industry and turn South Africa into the construction site, as the Minister of Public Works has mentioned many times. So again, wishing to thank you, colleagues from the BBCBE, and pledge publicly that we are committed to this relationship. We are meeting as a council on the 14th, where we will sign off and we'll get approval to sign that MOU so that we can make our relationship official, and we can continue working and dealing with the problems and the issues and the challenges of the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zondi, DP. It's a pre-warning as well for the next speaker as well. BBCBE legacy has got, they take time at the podium. Unfortunately, Mr. Roy Mnisi from MBSA couldn't make it today. But like what we have said, from our side, collaboration is critical. We're going to pursue it at all costs, because we are duplicating so many things when we could be speaking with one voice on critical issues that are affecting our sector. So that is one of the things as well from a lot of stakeholders that we've heard, that come with one voice on key issues. We know there's differences, so that is already well documented. But on issues of similar interest, come with one voice so that there is a singular solution to it. Next, then I will call Mr. Gregory Mufokeng from Construction Sector Charter Council. Rena Mufokeng, there's a timer there. I just want to check if you can see it. I'm going to set it for 6 minutes. 1 minute extra. Is it okay? I got a leadership people. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and thank you for suggesting the time. We'll take it as a suggestion. We'll see along the way. Keep to the suggestion or not. Let me take this opportunity to thank the opportunity given to the Construction Sector Council to come and say a few words. Let me firstly recognize the President of the BBCBE, the Deputy President, Indaba Dube, as well as the TG, Martha Siduleti, as well as the presidents of all the affiliates of the BBCBE, and I see industry colleagues, the Zondi, Flompay, Chris Campbell, and others who are in the room. A very good morning to you, colleagues, and everyone else who is in the room. From the CSCC, of course, we are here to support the initiative once again by the BBCBE to have this Indaba, and to also urge that as we meet again in this Indaba, that we should not lose focus of the transformation agenda, DP. As much as we want to turn the industry into a construction site, let us be aware that those projects must be implemented in a manner that will lead to this industry once again being truly transformed. We do have challenges. I know that the program director does not want us to delve too much into the challenges, but it is important that when we do meet, we must be honest with you and tell you these are the challenges, so that when we do meet, at the summit, we are able to come up with the solutions. The biggest challenge that the CSCC is facing at the moment is lack of funding from government. We have proposed our own self-funding model, industry funding model, and we have made our submissions to both the DPWI as well as the DTIC. The DTIC has approved. We are now awaiting, for the longest time, the approval of DPWI. And so as a consequence, it does affect the work of the CSCC. The last industry report that we produced was in 2021, and ideally we are supposed to be producing these reports on an annual basis so that we can all measure our efforts as far as transformation is concerned. So as we sit here today, the last report we can refer to is the report that was produced in 2021. It's not ideal. We definitely do need to get our latest reports so that we can measure ourselves. As a consequence, you then get reports that get produced by certain stakeholders in the industry. And those reports do not give a true reflection of what is happening in the entire industry. And so the reports are not a true indication of what's happening. So we do need to have a much more comprehensive study of what's happening so that we can then present to you as stakeholders the true picture of transformation. And so that we know whether we are transforming or not. One of the things that we need to avoid doing is to say anecdotally, it looks like this. That's dangerous. And we can't even legislate using anecdotal evidence. We need scientific evidence in order for us to be able to go back and say, how do we then adjust policies so that they can speak to the reality on the ground? So that's very, very, very important. So as we meet DP, President and TG this year, let us again focus more on what can we do ourselves as the private sector to energize the CSCC. We need to talk about that so that even when government takes its time to respond to our requests to make the funding available, as the private sector, we can use our own levers to be able to get a true picture of what's happening as far as transformation is concerned. It's about time that we must start generating our own solutions. Government will find us along the way. It seems as if they are concerned with a whole lot of things, including the budget. They're forgetting that there are institutions here that must be given attention to so that those institutions can be empowered to do their work. So from the CSCC, we once again want to wish the BBCB all of the very best as we look forward to this year's Indaba, and we hope that there will be enough time at the Indaba to address some of these challenges that are facing the industry, including the issues of transformation. And linked closely to that is the debate that was held again at the Indaba last year around the Public Procurement Act. Colleagues, if you remember, there was a session on that. And again, it's important to report back to say a lot of work has been done. As far as the Public Procurement Act is concerned, we sit here today, the President has signed that act into law. It's now the law. However, it has not yet replaced the PPFA because we need to work on the regulations. And as promised at the previous Indaba, we have begun the work on the regulations. The BBCB did lead that process until it was handed over to National Treasury. As we speak, National Treasury has got 7 reference groups that are working on the issue of regulations. And I'm hoping that all of you will be alert enough when National Treasury goes out to invite public comments that you will be able to make your comments. From an industry perspective, we have been participating fully there. In fact, funny enough, the reference group that looks at infrastructure is probably the largest group. At the last count, when we had the last meeting, there were close to about 200 people in that reference group. So that's how people are really keen to see the regulations working. So the next process will then be National Treasury will take the process forward, draft the actual regulations and issue those for public comment. And we are hoping that by June, those regulations will then be promulgated and that we can then start replacing the PPFA with the Public Procurement Act. Once again, we would like to appeal to you to be on the lookout for that, so that you don't then complain, especially women. Ladies, we look forward to your inputs on this one. The President promised you a lot of things. Make sure that you submit to say the President promised. We want to see delivered on what the President has promised. So we look forward to your participation and to your submissions. Lastly, I'm left with 10 seconds, and I will not leave this podium without addressing this thing of the World Bank. Most of you saw the headline that the World Bank is asking our government to look at relaxing BBB laws as well as labor laws so that investment can come. There is a very clear answer from the BBC. No. No. We are not going to do that. Anyone who invests here must understand that BBB is a reality and that the majority citizens of this country must participate in the economy of this country. So if you are going to invest here, BBB and labor laws apply in this country. They apply. As much as when you invest in other countries, you comply with the laws of those countries. When you come here, you are going to comply with the laws of South Africa. B is an act, it's a law. It's not something that we're saying, no. You can do it, especially from a government's perspective. Especially from a government's perspective. Government can't move without making sure that any of the issues that it addresses, transformation is part and parcel of that agenda. So we are very clear, and we are going to engage the World Bank to tell them that unless they can tell us something better, BBB continues. It will apply in this country. So I hope that we are clear. The BBC has been on radio stations, we've been on TV to try and clarify this, to say this proposal from the World Bank is rejected until the World Bank can tell us as to how the majority citizens of this country will then be accommodated in the economy if we say we must suspend or relax BBB legislation. So I hope I'm clear, colleagues. Let's leave here with comfort in our hearts that there will be no investment that happens here without BBB being part and parcel of the laws that must be accommodated in those investments. And with that, thank you very much, Chief Carrington. I think I've only exceeded by 1 minute, so I did take into consideration your suggestion, but of course, other things to take. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Mfuke. You did very well, I must say. I was worried, yet my worry was unwarranted. Thank you so much. I think it is important that we always advance this notion of law-abiding, being law-abiding citizens. And our companies, we know South Africa is one of the most over-regulated countries in the world, especially for businesses. But there are some regulations that are necessary. As people, it's always difficult to be encouraged to do certain things by our own selves. So legislation helps us to be encouraged to do certain things. And it is important that we also look at how we can use that legislation to support also the same black businesses that we want to advance. Black business needs to support black business. And this is one of the failings that we are seeing in the sector as well, that black business is not supporting black business, and that's something that needs to change as well. Thank you, colleagues. We have caught up with time, so I'm really doing well, I must say. And thank you so much to the speakers. I'll now hand over to the DP to moderate the next panel discussion. DP is only 30 minutes. Let me warn you already now, I'm going to put a timer there, 30 minutes. I know some of the colleagues couldn't make it early this morning, they've sent apologies, but I think the colleagues that are here you might have to use your DP authority to maybe second some of the colleagues as well. DP, if you can come and moderate the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. I'm going to move with speed because of it's only 30 minutes. Our panel, people who will be sitting in our panel, I'm going to invite them. I'm going to invite Tshepo, trainee from DBSA, and then from Sanral, and Demonetane from Sanral. And then from SETA, we are very blessed this morning to have the chairperson of the board who will be representing SETA into this discussion. And then the program director said I should be able to use my prerogative to call an extra person. I want to call Dadem Fuge. I think come and be part of the panel. I think we want to have 4 panelists. Thank you very much. Can you make your way to? I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move with speed in terms of what we want to discuss with our panelists. I think one question from my side, the panelists, is what the program directors already alluded to around the collaboration of the industry so that we can be able to achieve more in this industry. And then other question will come specific to different stakeholders as panelists. So I'll then ask specific questions in terms of what you represent. But for now, I just wanted to ask one question to say, what can we do as an industry in order to strengthen the collaboration so that we can achieve more in the build environment or the construction industry. And thank you very much, gentlemen. It's just unfortunate in this panel, it's men only. It's unfortunate, but one day we'll do better. Thank you very much. And then I'll start with Tshepo from my left side. Just give us a brief in terms of what DBSA does, and then what is it that we can able to achieve more in the industry if we definitely promote the collaboration amongst the players in the construction industry and infrastructure development. Thank you.
No, thank you, moderator. So from the DBSA side, in terms of the lessons that we have learned, which is also what you observed in your visit to our event, is that we managed to bring multiple role players within the industry. And I'm looking at Indaba as one of the areas where there's an opportunity, not only to limit it to stakeholders within the construction sector, but how do you also mobilize stakeholders from the financing sector, from also the value chain sectors, because as it was indicated earlier on, it's quite clear now that without the right investment of capital into the industry, there will not be any projects, and therefore you need solutions that cut across the sector to see it as a sector and think around how you want to participate within the industry. It's not going to give much leverage if there's no capital flow. So how do you then open your Indaba to include the key players? From our side as DBSA, we are a key stakeholder because we have also infrastructure projects that we implement on behalf of our members and our clients. But how do you go beyond the development finance institutions? How do you bring on board private sector business? That is some areas where we can see how we look to collaborate. As we have indicated, the initiative around DBSA mobilizing the development finance institution and the private sector is going to be key to unlock that investment, and that's how we want to collaborate so that we don't look at summit or events as sector-based. If you went to a mining Indaba, of course it's a forum for mining companies, but the people who are there are people who are in the investment side, are people who are providing manufacturing equipment for those mines. So how does also the construction Indaba try to tailor itself that is beyond just construction companies, where we are able to include stakeholders in a broader nature for us to achieve the objectives that we want to achieve of transformation and also increasing investment within the sector.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tefo. And
thank you very much, facilitator, moderator. I think, as Sandra, we have signed, and I'd like to say, with your first Indaba, we signed a very important document, our MOU. But we have a lot of MOUs that we sign that don't translate into this collaboration that we speak of. I think what we have done as Central, we have a lot of discussions with BDCBE. We've set up what we call a construction development program, and it's quite advanced. We went on a roadshow across the country, well supported by different stakeholders. And we're saying there, we've realized that there are key things that the challenges that everybody is going to talk about, finances, plant, and so on. But what we've realized is that we are starting to see 100% black-owned companies that are awarded contracts within Sunrise. And it comes with its own challenges. And what have we said? We said, we see the challenge of finance. Let us advance a certain percentage of the value of the project so that it assists the newcomers, it assists these 100% black owned, because we are very aware that the previously bigger companies are well resourced. Again, we're saying as Sandra, the black industrial scheme. Black needs to support black. We need to play in the whole value chain. We called out for a request for information from black industrialists. My colleagues are saying disappointedly from my side, as from Transformation Office, but my colleagues internally, they say, no. 36 companies that you got, this is a very good start. So we need to have more of those kind of schemes going. But we didn't stop at that as Sandra. I think we saw that we handed over crushing plant in the KZN, and there's many more good stories to tell. But like Ted was saying, where is that one platform that we know we can tap into so that all the good work that's been done and collaboration can be achieved? So with our Black Industrial Scheme and with our Contractor Development Program, we want to plug into that platform. That will be, I think, a resolution at the next Indaba. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mulezad, and then over to you, Mr. Mfuke.
Thank you, Chair. I think from an industry perspective, collaboration is absolutely critical. It is absolutely critical, especially when it comes to policy development work. Our associations across the board must work collaboratively in order for us to have meaningful impact. And once again, let me overemphasize the work that we need to do across industry associations with the Public Procurement Act regulations. One of the submissions we've made there is around, for instance, payment guarantees, Chris Campbell, payment guarantees. That when we do work with government, we are expected from the professional side to submit PI. On the contractor side, we must submit performance guarantees. When we fail, government calls on those instruments. But as a contractual issue, government is not paying us on time. And we are suffering. Most of us are suffering. In silence, I might add. Right? So here is a window of opportunity to say, when we make our submissions now across our various organizations, let us put it there that government must give us payment guarantees. And colleagues, let us not be shy. this opportunity comes once in a long time. Let us not be shy. Let's put it on the table. If National Treasury says we can't give you guarantees, we ask, what are you going to give us? Because the current arrangement is not working. It doesn't matter you're talking about 30-day payment cycle. It doesn't matter whether you're quoting PFMA. The thing is just not working. So we must put it on the table. So we need to collaborate in such areas. The SETA is here. Our associations must be first in line to assist the SETA with implementing training programs across the country. So we must be acting in unison as far as that is concerned, so that the SETA knows that it is working with industry associations to develop policy and to also look forward to implementing the programs. Our members should be telling us the skills that we need to be investing in, so that when we are sitting at the SETA, we can then be able to say, this is where the skills trajectory is going. Let's put money there in those skills that our members are in need of, because they can see the opportunities, they can see where things are going. So it is very important that we need to work collaboratively from a policy development side, and to also look at how do we partner with industry associations as well as those regulatory bodies to implement programs that are relevant for the industry and for our members. Thank you very much for your TP.
Thank you, Mr. King. And then I'll give you over to Tawa Masonga, the chairperson of SETA. And then, Chair, in fact, I just wanted to bring you to some speed. We had a first discussion between SETA CEO and CIDB and Dirisano Fund. In fact, one of our proposals, Chair, that we propose is that collaboration between those agencies. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say we had those discussions, and then we hope that we'll be able to achieve more in this collaboration. But we wanted to hear from your side in terms of how do you think that we can able to work together with different institutions and making sure that we collaborate around the skills development. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you. Thank you, TP. I don't know if it's audible. I wanted to say that good morning, thank you very much. Good morning to your guests and everyone. We are, of course, certainly committed to seeing more partnerships and joint programs at the level of implementing projects that will absorb young people, particularly young kids and black women in rural areas, so that they become more involved in infrastructure rollouts. We support all initiatives that talk to that concept. But we want us to move beyond just the conversations. I think our conversations must now start to be focused, programmatic, and time-based. We do not have the luxury of time. Neither do we have the luxury of resources. In fact, the collaborations we are speaking about between BBCBE, its affiliates, and the industries must translate into projects to absorb young people. Because we're struggling with absorption. Young people, as we speak, are in class, they're given theoretical work, but when it's time to go on site to do the real work, there's no work. There are no projects rolling out. And I think that defeats the purpose of these conversations, because it's one step, two steps backward. And what these young people end up doing, they get disillusioned. They move out of their sector to look for opportunities. Because the stipend that the SETA pays, to me and you, may be a stipend. But given the South African economic trajectory and context, I can rest assure you that's an income for lots of households. It's an income. So young people can't afford the stop and goes that we often see in road construction, in renovations. And we're encouraged by what the minister says, but ministers, as usual, they will make those broad commitments and statements in SONA, in SOPAS, in all those things. If you don't have an activist industry body like the BBCBE to keep on knocking and pressurizing the relevant infrastructure departments, we are not going to see the rollout. Our conversations, DP and President and members, is that we now want to start to talk about the real skills for the economy, the skills for the future. We know that a lot of programs and qualification pathways still talk to your old forms of skills, but yet there's a reality. The infrastructure sector is transforming. It's changing. The robotics are here, they're a reality. Alternative building technologies are here, they are a reality. And I think we need to now reposition young people to be able to respond to those opportunities, to use artificial intelligence, to use all forms of transformation, ways of construction to be relevant. You were speaking earlier, TP, about how other countries are doing. The reality is that other countries are far ahead in terms of the forms of construction methodologies there is. If we can't adapt, we remain behind. And when we remain behind, we are robbing young people an opportunity to export their skills. Because when they go to Dubai, when they go to Asia, they ask them what type of qualifications and forms of skills do they have. And if we don't prepare them to be ready to respond to those challenges, we are robbing them of those opportunities. Lastly, we agree with the concept of transformation, and that's a non-negotiable. And I can rest assure you, colleagues, the opponents of transformation are regrouping and they are reinforcing. The antagonists of transformation are fighting the pushback. Not only are they influencing the IMF, they are lobbying. The United States, they are lobbying superpowers to isolate South Africa in what they call antagonistic policies that seems to be discriminating certain groups. Of course, in the process, they are using distortions, misinformation, lies, and mischaracterization of the true trajectory of the transformation policy. It is then our responsibility as the PBCB and many other stakeholders to tell our story. Because here's the reality. The story of the hunted cannot be told by the hunter. Those who don't want transformation are truly committed to distort it in any form whatsoever. And our responsibility is to be agents of change, transformation, live transformation, speak transformation, articulate transformation, and implement transformation. Because I can rest assured, if we don't open up the opportunities, young people and many other communities will not have the opportunities. And this Indaba that we're launching today will continue to be the talk show without any meaningful, actionable results. And ours must be to change the trajectory. Because me and you agree that in 20 years' time, we do not want to be one of those people who attended these Indabas, spoke a lot of English, went home and nothing. So we must be those who are able to point back and say, we changed the tide, we transformed the sector, we opened up opportunities, and we left it for future generations to implement. It is against this background that at CITA, DP, President, and your stakeholders, we support the Indaba and will do everything meaningful to reposition. And here's the operative work, to reposition the CITA to become a catalyst for change and training executive authority that actually understand the sector in its totality and invest in the skills for the future, the skills for the economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I think we are very proud of you, of these things that you're articulating, Chair. And I'll tell you, I think it's part of the agenda that is BBCP we're driving. We are saying, one of the things that we mentioned, we said, until we get the right people at the right position of this institution, people like yourself, Chair, we'll never realize anything. Because of these boards and executive, they then become the challenge. Because of now, all of us must realize, colleagues, to say we're working within the system. And this system, it's so difficult to penetrate. You can make a lot of noise outside it, and you'll never have an effect on the system. It just keep quiet. And it just keep quiet, and then you make noise. And I agree, Chair, to say, people like yourself who are sitting at the board of CITA, and then hearing what you're articulating to us, it's very interesting because it means that when you meet as board members, it's some of the things as a chair of that board you are driving for us to realize it. But let me tell you, there could be some, BBCP, you will face so many challenges, and don't think that is about white people. It's no longer about white people. 30 years in the democracy, it's no longer about white people. If we are not moving in this country, we are not moving forward, it's not about white people. It's about black people who are occupying this position at different institutions. But they make it so difficult when you come and tell them that we need transformation, we want to see transformation happening. And I agree, Chair, with you to say, you see, these Indabas will attend them, Chair, after 20 years, will sit back at home and say, no, we achieved nothing. I agree with you. I'm saying, let's change that trajectory. Because at the end of the day, I look at you and say, no, he's black. And then it means that we're in the same part in terms of transformation, we understand each other. I don't need to convince TD to say, TD, this is the road that we need to take. I don't need to convince anybody. I just assume that because of we are black, it means that we are in the same path in terms of understanding. Only to find out when we speak to you, it's something different. You meet today, and then people tomorrow they forgot that they met with you, and then when we have to ask questions, you know, we're faced as leaders, you don't know what we're facing. You face a situation whereby someone will be able to come back to you and says, you know what, BBCP, as much as we want to drive transformation, but we don't report to you. We've got a board that we report to. So don't tell us what to do. When we are ready, we'll talk to you. Whether it takes 12 months or 24 months, we just have to wait until that person comes back to you. So these are the kind of challenges that we're facing. But then I'll just move to Tsepo. Say, Tsepo, I know that what the chairperson has raised, and then about young people. And then my question to you to say, how do we then use DBSA? Because of part of the things that we know that DBSA, they are funding projects, infrastructure projects. And then this infrastructure project becomes an opportunity for us to place these young people in order to get the practical skills. And I know that most of these projects are not your project. We are just funding them, but they are privately owned. But what is it that you can collaborate with industry to make sure that these young people have an opportunity to be placed into this, all those contractors that, or all those projects that we funded as DBSA? That's one. And then number two, I wanted us to deal with the issue of, you see, not all of us here, we still regard, there's nothing wrong for us to be able to pursue tenders. But we know all of us that tenders cannot accommodate all of us. There are few tenders. If tender comes out of Transnet, there are 2,000 companies that are going to apply for that tender. But I think part of the mindset change that we are advocating as BBCP is that we want more black people who can start their own project and have pain of starting a project from the beginning up to the end. For the first time, as black people must be able to start doing that. It's no longer about tenders. Because you can go to tender to municipality, you're not going to get a tender, you wait, you'll never receive a tender. There's a provincial tender comes out, you tender for it, you never receive that tender. So maybe it's the right time now, even in this build environment in town, to start now having that mind shift, to say, no, start the project from the beginning. And then here the relationship with DBSA, we know that there's a pre-feasibility study, there's a bankability. So we start understanding those processes as an industry, because if we are really an industry that drives infrastructure in South Africa, then we will be required to be able to understand how do we start project from the beginning to end. And then now, Chair was talking about this project. They tell you that they're worth 169 billion rand. And then when you look at it, you go to ISA. ISA said, no, we are registering project and assisting to unlock project. But when it comes to transformation, it's one of the engagement that we need to have with ISA to say, let's not end on registering project and dealing with the bottlenecks. Let's look at it to say, how do we infuse transformation into having access to those clients so that organizations like ourselves can start engaging the project owners. in order to drive transformation. I think some of the things that we'll definitely will look at it. So I just wanted to give it to you, so that we've got 9 minutes. And then I'll have a direct question later. Thank you.
Okay, no, thanks, Moderator. I'll try to be sweet and short. So, in terms of the DBSA, many think some key aspect that people in the room may not be aware of is that DBSA is also an implementer of projects. I think outside of public works, we are possibly the biggest implementing agent of government in terms of delivering infrastructure projects. And where we want to collaborate, especially with the SITAs. So our approach to a project is that each and every project requires a unique requirement strategy. And the requirement strategy does not only mean around contracting service providers who will come and implement the project or the contractors themselves, but it's also about what are the development opportunities. If it's a project within a province, what are the provincial development objectives? What are the municipality development objectives around issues of gender, around issues of youth, around issues of disability? And once we agree on those dimensions, we then make sure that they form part of our implementing program, and we implement and monitor them, and we also report to them, to the client, but also to the Auditor General, because in some cases we are the ones who report on the project on behalf of the client. So there is opportunity to collaborate with SITA around how do we then upscale the absorption of young people for them to be trained and to get required skills within those projects. Already, as I've indicated, we'll have a baseline, but we can see how do we then move across the baseline just to ensure that we strengthen the development of the South African youth. And our portfolio is now even growing to implement cross-border projects. So we are looking at multiple sectors. It's not only the historic building of schools that the DBSA started with in terms of 2013, but now we're doing bridges, we're doing energy projects, we're doing water projects, we're doing digital projects. So there is a big opportunity that we can look at in terms of the different elements of the SITAs. And to your second question around, how does the DBSA now position itself to look at end-to-end project? What we need to do as a country is also to step back and maybe reduce our obsessions around mega infrastructure projects. Because the mega infrastructure project is mainly big capital that comes with their own big companies, whether they will call it a PPP or they will call it whatever. But the question is, if we are taking Gauteng, does Gauteng need any additional thousands and thousands kilometers of roads? Do we need hundreds and hundreds more wastewater treatment works? We don't. What we need to do is to make sure that the infrastructure that we have is properly maintained and is properly operated. And that is where the opportunity is. Because we have been interacting with people who are coming with solutions around how do we improve wastewater treatment works. How can we then, as DBSA, help you to refine your concept? Because we have these municipalities as clients who are coming to us and say, DBSA, I need infrastructure projects, I need you to give me loans. But from our side, we are also seeing that on the other side, we have high levels of non-revenue water. We have leakages all over, we have sewages that is spilling without treatment. As a development bank, we want to change those, but we don't have the capacity or the technology. It's sitting with young people who can come up with those ideas to say, in Mohali City, you have a wastewater treatment challenge. DBSA, you guys are able to fund my project in terms of pre-feasibility, in terms of project preparation, and you can also help me to scale up. That forum of the DFIs and also the private sector is going to be key, because then we're able to say, okay, in terms of this nature of technology, this is the instruments that can be available, either from the DBSA, from the IDC, from the NEF, or even more into the space of private sector banks such as Investec and also Standard Bank. And this relates more to the collaborations that we need to have as an industry. Because for me, the colleagues who will be in the Indaba, we know each other's problem, but the question is, does Standard Bank know your industrial problem? Does Investec know your industrial problem? And if they don't, how do we then build the bridge to ensure that we close those? There is common understanding of what challenges the industry is facing, and there's also common drive to look in terms of the solution for the industry in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Lizana, I wanted to touch base on the issue that was raised by the chairperson. How do we then collaborate with Sandra? We know that you are doing a lot of projects nationally. And then how do we use your project side to be able to assist the young people to place in those projects? I know that we've got that MOU with BBCPE, but maybe we need to expand into that. And then we have a MOU with DBSA. I think some of the programs that we need to look at that collaboration. And then just speak briefly on the contract development in terms of how far we in terms of that program. Thank you.
Thank you again, moderator. I think it's very important for me to start and say it was a board instruction of Sandra to say we will have learnerships. There are youth that are employed within the projects, but we need to have learnerships for the boys and girls that have gone and done theory, and now they need to have a practical experience. And we will look at you will see in the annual report, integrated report, Sandra's integrated report, that 1,000 and more in this past financial year, learnerships were enabled at Sandra. And we further say we need to 2,000 more. And 5,000, I think the board said a target of 5,000. I can't recall the financial year. So it is within the DNA of Sandra to say we need to also collaborate with the CETA. In fact, we need to have a collaboration meetings because of the migration. I call it a partnership from the old system and the vocational kind of work, practical experience and training that our youngsters and our youth need to have. So we are talking with CETA to say, let us roll it out properly, because in our contract documents, it is mandatory. And we are pushing a lot of money through professional sums. Let me take the N2 between Bitridi Mkondo and MLO. It was awarded about a month ago. It's still on mobilization period. If you go to the internet and you download that particular document, tender document, you'll see provisional sums there, 2.5 million, and overall a training program that we have set out there of 12 million for one package. So if that doesn't talk volumes, then we don't know. But we need to have meaningful training so that when these youngsters, after the 3 years of this particular project finishes, we have individuals who can travel to all these destinations across the world with proper skill to be employed locally and internationally. So Sandra is very deliberate in terms of our participation in the training space. When we come to the contractor development program, we want to incubate 100% black owned grade 5 to grade 7s initially. And my executive Lisonolo said, no, let's include the 8s and 9. And already we had many discussions with our plant MOU partners, Vetgens, the Bell, and so on. And I can report to say we are a little bit a step ahead, where we already introduced those who have been awarded, and they have picked up 1 or 2 machinery. And Bell said, you know what, there are things that happen in the industry of plant that at certain stages in terms of the financial year, you can actually get very good rates. So let's look at maybe June or whatever, when those rates are proper and we fix it and so on. So the contractor development program looks at all of that. The training, we want to get mentors in there. We want to get supervisors, experienced supervisors on site, and award directly, like you are saying, from inception right to close, where we incubate you for a period of 3 to 5 years. And we want to guarantee sustainability. We don't want to let you go after the 3 years or 5 years, and you are not sustainable. So we're building capacity, we're building resources, all sorts of resources, human resources, plant, you name. But what is very important is that we see the risk where we're saying we're giving so much support in terms of resources that we hope that our black contractors won't fold their arms and look at somebody else actually do the project for them. But it was presented at the board after our roadshow in Jan, well received by the board. Now the next step that we need to take, we've completed the calls for request for information in terms of the contractors that want to participate. And around April, we should be able to go out and actually invite contractors that want to participate. So we are hoping that yourselves, like you have already did, to guide us and to capacitate us where we will lack in terms of the program. But we're looking forward to rolling out the program. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And then on my right hand side, I think we want to sum up on that the chairperson, Yasita. Because of the time, I can see that the program director is looking at me. Can I just give you a minute, the chair, to sum up?
Thank you very much, DP. 2 issues on my side. I think the first one is the issue of skills. As a country, we must be decisive on certain things. We like to negotiate too much. You know, we must just be decisive. We must be clear. In fact, if we are proactive, DP, we must just propose this to DPWI, the likes of DBSA and others. Let's come up with a formula that says if you get a project of 100 million, this is the amount of youth that you must absorb. Finish. If you don't want to absorb them, we'll talk to the next guy on the line. Let's be decisive. Because negotiating forever is not going to help us address the problems that we have. Okay? And then we can decisively deal with this issue of giving our youth access and for them to get practical, right? Practical experience. And then also have a plan as to how we then assist them after they exit those projects. It's very important. But we can't be negotiating forever. If you don't want to assist the country to deal with issues of youth unemployment, you don't deserve to get any project from the government. It's as simple as that. So let's be decisive. So my input on the skills is that at the conference, at the Indaba, DP, let's come up with a resolution that says we are going to develop this formula and propose it to government.
And women.
And women. Come on, the other issue which I want to talk to quickly is around, because you know, it's very nice when we are sitting on panels with funders like DBSA and ITC and all of those things. But it is no longer nice when you are applying on your own and they are telling you, you know, all sorts of reasons why they can't fund you. You see? That's an issue that we need to address. The biggest issue is this issue of equity, your own equity. They can look at your process, but they say, what do you have? And it is within that context that we are supporting and we have proposed and we are supporting government on the transformation fund. The very transformation fund that people are saying is going to be corrupt. We've got the Sangomas here, they already know what's going to happen with that fund. So we need to support the fund because when you go to TBSA, you know, Sapa is here, is talking very nice. But when you are there on your own, Sapa will be saying, where is your money? It will no longer be the BBCB panel discussion. It will be your balance sheet that they will be querying. So we must have a transformation fund that gives us the money to engage our funders. I just had a very bad experience now with one funder telling me that, no, but you are on too many, you are a director of too many companies. Hey, I'm not an employee. I'm not an employee, I'm a businessman. I start businesses. If it fails, I close it. Go to the next one. Just like that. Until we get to the one that works. So you can't be telling me that you can't fund me because I'm on too many boards. Ask me how far those companies are. Are they operating or not? Can't do a desktop GT on the other side and just tell me that no, you're on too many boards, I can't fund you. These are the realities that we're faced with. So we're not employees, we are business people. And people must understand this. So the transformation fund is important, colleagues, so that it can fund our initiatives. Let us support it. The doomsayers are already running around saying, no, this thing is going to be corrupt, it's going to fail. That's why it is self-appointed. They can already see doomsday even before we start. So this thing must be supported. Because it doesn't matter how much we preach. The fact of the matter is that when you get to the ITC as a black person, when you get to TBSA as a black person, it doesn't matter how good a project you have. What are you going to put on the table? Yeah. We need to resolve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the info.
Yeah, no. In closing, GP, you will be interested to know that we have approved a track and tracer study, very comprehensive and detailed, to give us stock of how much we've spent on young people over the past 10 years. And where are these young people now? Right? If they left, are they still in the sector? If they're in the sector, what role are they playing? Because in order for us to know where we're going, we need to know where we're coming from. And then we're able to fix that. And in our next Indaba and subsequent Indabas, we must project these numbers. And sometimes we become too hard on ourselves. We probably are making progress, but we're not tracking this progress. So we're going to do that. Track and trace, find these young people, look for them. If they're disillusioned, if they're not in construction, why they're not in construction, what are the issues, what are the challenges, and that helps us diagnose the problem and fix going to the future. Finally, to my colleagues at Central, TBSA, and probably AXA and many other institutions, let's start to disabuse ourselves from signing a lot of MOAs and MOUs that we don't monitor. I'm going to repeat this. Let's disabuse ourselves from signing a lot, making commitments, but we don't track and we don't check the impact and progress of those. And so in fact, what we're going to set up at CETA is a project, an MOE monitoring office. Once we sign an MOE with you in 6 months' time, we're back, we're ticking. This is a commitment number one, how far are we here? Why we are not here? Because I can just assure you, I want to sign MOAs and MOUs until the donkey comes back home. But we're not going to find the meaningfulness or extract the meaningfulness out of those contracts. Because what are MOAs and MOUs? They're in-law contracts. And as a lawyer, I'm very focused and zoomed into making sure that the contract that's signed, it must be worth the paper signed on. In other words, we must find the meaningfulness coming out of those commitments, those undertakings. Because like I said, our youngsters and our future generations, DP, will spit on our graves. Will spit on our graves. That we came here, booked suntails and conferences and spoke a lot of English, we have nothing to show. So when we sign contracts and MOUs within 6, 12 months, 24, 36 months, have a project, MOU or contract monitoring exercise. It must tell you whether or not you are coming or going. And then you are able to track the progress. And then you can change if priorities are changing. But you change within the context of focusing on these two priorities. The relevant skills for the economy and skills for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. Yeah, these are key stakeholders in the industry. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you so much, DP. Colleagues, I think just to close off, we're going to allow maybe a few questions, a few questions or comments. Maybe I mustn't say questions, comments, because there is an opportunity that you'll be able then to share even much more with us and the organizing committees as well with regards to things that needs to be focused on. We will project the email address that you can send. It will be available on all our social media platforms as well, so that we are able then to engage at the Indaba. And at the Indaba as well, our president, Dr. Masemini, will give you a rundown of where we are. At the last Indaba, we promised that we will track the activities and the agreements that have come up from the Indaba, the work that is done, and he will report on that, or where the things are, what are the things that have been done, where are the successes. And I must say, there is quite a number of them, and we won't be able to go through them in this launch. But at the Indaba, we'll be able then to even expand on it and discuss what is the next step and the activities that we've done. Just maybe to close off, just before we take questions, and then maybe I must get the stakeholders to come back so that they are the ones that can answer the questions. I'm not going to answer the questions. Is that the BBCPE has taken an approach of projectization of activities. We have focused quite a lot on our strength of lobbying and advocacy around policy and legislation, which our mother body does it successfully. But we have seen the gap that exists with regards to the implementation of projects that will test those policies. And that is what we have started doing. And commercializing the relationships that we have, which allows for us to extract the value. When you say that they want money, there are people that have got the money and they'll hit you with criteria. So, you either have the money or don't have the money. It will depend on the day that you go to some of the funding agencies. And those are some of the things collaboratively we need to address and be able then to get an outcome. So I think in moving towards questions, if there is any questions, we have got 15 minutes. And if it is a long question, here is the email addresses. They will get to all the key stakeholders if you have got a long question, so that it can then be answered. Please send your question through to members that are there on the email address, and we are able then to move. If you're going to do a comment or question, 2 minutes at the most. I recognize you, Metlara, Prince, I recognize you. Okay, so if there's not a lot of questions,
good day, colleagues, and thank you very much to you, the program director, and also the NOBs of PPCBE, where SAWIC, which is South African Women in Construction and Built Environment, is a member organization and a founding member of PPCBE. My name is Clara Sigelelwa Sokula-Shemwenze, the president of South African Women in Construction and Built Environment. I would like to thank you, leadership of the PPCBE, for inviting us in this session. This is one of the sessions that also empowers us as people who are in the built and water industry. I don't have questions more than acknowledging and thanking the panelists about the information that was shared to us. And mine is to emphasize on the issue of incubator programs, more especially when you lead women in South Africa. You always want to see yourself and also always want to see those women empowered by our government. There's a lot of things, and more especially signing these MOUs in the game that we've just spoken about. We signed these MOUs, Uchilo, no, Chairperson Board, yes, we sign these MOUs. At times there's no implementation, and when you do follow-ups as organizations, you find out it's like you are lagging at the people that are supposed to do the implementation in those spaces. But what I would like to say on behalf of SAWIC, that we do have a very good relationship with these stakeholders that we're here. We were invited by the DBSA in Cape Town on the 3rd of March, 3rd of Feb. ODP was correct to say there is something that he will be reporting in terms of the outcome and also the implementation of the MOU. I think as members that are part of the BBCPE, as members in good standing of the BBCPE, we will really rely on our NOBs in making sure that as women that are in that BBCPE, we are part of the people that are also benefiting from that MOU. And also benefiting by saying, not us as leaders, but in making sure that when I say SAWIC, it's a national footprint organization. Abantu, when you are a mother and you have kids in the house, all those children are looking at you as a mother. All that we want is to see you implementing the MOU that has been signed between BBCPE and yourselves. I think mine is to thank your leadership and also you, the program director, for managing this time, more especially to the people like me. I know BBCPE is me and that forget. You always make sure that when we are given time, you need to make sure. Otherwise, if you don't, we are very energetic in these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Clara.
Program Director, thanks. 3 bullets. One, through the conferences and summits that I've attended, I've never seen a screen where there is a checklist of funding projected. I want to propose that the BBCB Indaba, Built Environment Indaba, have a stakeholder, if not 2, who are going to share a checklist indicating the items that will actually be the requirements for this funding. Some of our members get a shock of their life when they go there. So can we do it in a forum? And we take those lessons there, so that the follow-ups are substance, not going to say, by the way, what do you require for funding? Then what were we sitting doing? The second one is I think we must contextualize this transformation agenda with numbers. There's a certain grouping in South Africa which think transformation has been achieved, and they think it's done and dusted. So maybe when we discuss these things, we need to put numbers. How many youth do we have who have benefited in these particular schemes of projects? How many women? How many black businesses? So that the backlog is projected with colors. Red if there's a real backlog. And I'm also calling for a presentation that is tangible on that discussion. We can discuss or decide who are the stakeholders who are going to be carrying that. The last one on the skills transfer. I think our stakeholders, particularly clients in the built environment, need to show us how the points are allocated on this component of skill transfer. I have realized that I think we speak about it, and as long as it's not scored enough with evidence where people see that I'm going to fail this submission if I'm not making this commitment. And after I've gotten an award on the basis of that commitment, I'm going to be chucked out contractually out of that project if I'm not delivering my skills transfer. Then these things are tangible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Press. Yeah, I think the challenges that we have are there, colleagues, and it's upon us to contribute towards the solution and the agenda that we're going to pursue for the Indaba. And for us as an organization is to aggregate those positions, those ideas, and be able then to present a unified position. And we must not be afraid if there is differences, because what we're supposed to be looking at is how do we leverage around those differences that there is a common goal that is achieved. And I think if we look at the different organizations themselves, have been pursuing different objectives, and those have not been aggregated properly so that it benefits the whole sector. And this is what we want to try and achieve with this Indaba as well. There's a last question from Renan Fouquet.
No, it's not a question. I'm taking up the challenge that we can present at the Indaba, the last report present that the CSCC did to check what's happening on the transformation side. But I did say that we have got to take decisions out of the Indaba as to how we're going to fund this activity going forward. Because a person that says transformation has been achieved must back that up with stats. And if we say transformation has not been achieved, we must also back that up with stats. It can't be just to say, anecdotally, this is how it looks like. So we need to invest in making sure that we do that. The other thing that is very critical, and again we will elaborate further on it, is that there is a huge challenge at the moment. I mean, when we're tendering and we say maybe a client wants to see more skills development and so on and so forth, we have moved outside of that framework that says, how do we then measure companies that are transformed and are able to then aid the transformation agenda? If you look at some of the standards that are coming out, Transnet and Sandals, a B certificate now gets 1 point or 2 points. Now, it doesn't make sense anymore for companies to invest in that. If the companies are going to say, we will prioritize, let's just say, black people. How do you verify that people are black, as an example? Because I can go to a police station and say I'm black and come with an affidavit. Is that good enough? We need a verification process to say that, yes, this company is transformed and it is black. So we have got serious challenges that we are being confronted with as an executive authority on transformation, and we want industry to understand those challenges. Let's take certain positions so that we can then, from a policy perspective, come up with a policy that works. But for now, colleagues, we do need to have our hands on data, stats, and then we know where we are and where do we need to go to.
Okay, so we know that by the time of the Indaba, we must have a funding model for CSCC.
Is there?
Oh, money. Or maybe not a model, money.
Thank you, Program Director. Just a comment to the colleague from Senral. Firstly, to start by commending Senral on their transformation policies and the projects that are actually active at the moment. Your section D1000 is groundbreaking in the way that you've been so detailed in making sure that you deliver the transformation or the empowerment mandate or objective in the industry. But just asking that perhaps if Sandal and other government departments just take more ownership of the transformation agenda itself, because to leave it in the hands of the contractor who is in the business of making a profit. They're not really in the business of transforming or developing emerging contractors. Some of our members in SAFSEC have said it in multiple meetings that they will consider emerging contractors, 1 CEs to 3 CEs, as potential competition in the future. And they don't see the logic in developing their future competition. So there's a danger there, and perhaps just a request that government take more ownership of the development process itself and not leave it to the contractor, because sometimes people are conflicted. A practical example of where I feel perhaps maybe conflict is getting in the way of people implementing. Just on the N3 in Durban, where I'm from, KZN, there's the ED Kluter contract, which is awarded to a Chinese company. I spoke to the enterprise development manager a few months ago, and he told me that they are struggling to find CPG contractors. And I find that really difficult to believe in a project that is right in the center of a big metro. It's not like it's a smaller metro in the outskirts of KZN, it's Durban, Etigini municipality, right in the center of Etigini municipality as well, where they are struggling to find black contractors. That I find really difficult to believe. And those are things, I think they mentioned that they've only been able to execute 10% or less than 10% of their targets, and they're struggling to find contractors in that area. And I think that is a typical example of where maybe people are conflicted, and that's not a priority for them to be developing contractors. And I think perhaps if government can own the process themselves, and we as industry bodies are putting our hands up as well to assist in helping with that implementation. But just a request, if they can please manage that process yourselves. And as colleagues have been saying, Bamfukeng was saying, also monitor those statistics and do some reporting. Just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, colleagues. All protocol observed. Tim Lugel from TICSA, the Women in Water Infrastructure. The Women in Water Infrastructure and Construction. Mine is directed to Sandra. The gentleman has already covered some of the aspects that I wanted to raise. In terms of the development contractor program that is coming in April, we attended those roadshows. Sandra was very clear, grade 5, 6, and 7. And then they are going to escalate to grade 8 and 9, of which I'm happy with that. Now, I'm just going to make an example. In terms of, we are discussing the issue of the young girls and the opportunities for practical, those that are coming from the EFT colleges. And those that also own companies who are grade 1. I know that there's no space, but is it going to be possible for those contractors, companies that are going to be appointed to observe those companies and those schemes? I'll make an example. The last time I checked with CIDB, grade 7 was qualifying for 40 million contract. I'm making an example. So is it possible that those companies that are going to be appointed, if you appoint grade 7 for 40 million contract, that they can appoint subcontractors from grade 1 to capacitate, mentor, skill, enterprise development skill through those programs? Is there a room in the space for that? And then in terms of practical that are coming from EFT colleges and everything, those are students. Some of them are students that needs, because sometimes when you write those exams, they want you to come inside and do 3 months practical before you qualify. That's what we used to do already. That is 2002 during my time. So what I'm just a clarity, that is it possible for Sandra that they can create that space through those programs as well for individuals, like your civil engineer that can come in and do civil engineering practical through the entire program of the incubator. Those were my concern. If that is in place, I'm happy with that. Through your surface, stormwater drainage, and all those tertiary roads, and if that example. For DDSA, I will submit to our members' organization, of which is BBC, and for Ndatemfuki, Bango, BEE, you are talking about the system is in with Trump. Tell them when they come back, triple BEE is here to stay. If they remove our BEE, we remove their triple PMFE. We are tired of being threatened. Thank you. Thank you. Quick answer.
Very quick. You know, it doesn't help to incubate a grade 7 or grade 9 and you don't give them real experience. When they get out and they have to subcontract these people or these contractors or these youngsters, it's going to be real life. As it is now for all these guys who are working in Sandra. So we don't want to make it too nice and comfortable. You need to react. It must be the real thing. And we are intending to, if you are a 7, we are talking to CIDB, more than 40 million, you know. We want to give real training. Yes. I want to say quickly in closing, we are going provincial. Central is going provincial. It has gone provincial for that matter. The regions that used to exist, Eastern region, Western region, and so on, Northern region, no more. We are going to have provincial heads. They are already there. We are writing a program to say how do we go around the country, introducing them to different stakeholders. They are already appointed. They've been given delegations of authority because we want to have a focused intervention in terms of all those issues that we've had in the past. So we'll have project managers within the province and statutory, you name, finance, it will be within provinces to attack those particular challenges that we've been having. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you could hear that at the Indaba there is going to be very critical information and insight as well, and an opportunity for the first consultation of the sector from some of the key stakeholders. So it is important that you make time, you register, and attend as well. Colleagues, I'm off by 2 minutes. In one of the events that I went to by 2 minutes, there will be only 15 people left in the actual hall itself. So that's how they treasured time. But thank you so much. I would like to just acknowledge our key stakeholders, SAPSEC, BPCBE, BBC, and CSCC as well, MBSA in their absence, and all the colleagues that came through from SANRAL, CETA, DBSA, as well, and the other colleagues also that couldn't make it as well. So thank you so much for taking the time. Please make time to register for the Indaba itself, and share as well your contributions. Because what we have tried to do now is that from what we have done last year, the report is available on our website, and then you'll be able then to augment on the direction that we're going to take. How do we implement some of those resolutions and magnify them as well? Thank you. There is refreshments available if you are not fasting. So thank you so much, and until we see you at the Indaba. Thank you.